So, good day everyone. We will be talking about sphygmomanometer. To start, sphygmomanometer is a medical gadget used for measuring blood pressure. Other popular names for this device include a blood pressure monitor, blood pressure gauge, or it can also be called blood pressure meter. Next is we will be having the parts of the sphygmomanometer. First one, we have the inflation bulb. Second one, the pressure gauge holder. And the third one is the cuff. Fourth is the valve. Fifth is the pressure gauge. And lastly, the artery marking arrows. So we will be also talking about a little description of its functions. So the inflation bulb. The inflation bulb pumps gas to the pressure cuff. Second, the pressure gauge holder holds the pressure gauge. And the cuff takes blood pressure. The fourth one is the valve. It controls the inflation and deflation of a pressure cuff. So the fifth is the pressure gauge. This measures blood pressure. And lastly, the artery marking arrows. It inlines with the brachial artery.
So now I'll discuss to you about the step-by-step use of a sphygmomanometer. So 1. Locate your pulse. That's the first one. Second is to secure the cuff. Third, inflate and deflate the cuff. Fourth, note your systolic blood pressure. Use a stethoscope. When you hear the first thump, make a note of the pressure on the gauge. That is your systolic blood pressure. Then, note your diastolic blood pressure. When there are no thumping noises anymore, make a note of the pressure of the gauge. Understand what readings mean by looking at the chart. So we have a blood pressure chart. So for the blood pressure chart, for normal, in systolic, it is less than 120. For diastolic, it is less than 80. For elevated, systolic is between 120 to 129. And diastolic is less than 80. For high blood pressure, hypertension stage 1, systolic is 130 to 139. And for diastolic, it is 80 to 89. For high blood pressure hypertension stage 2, it is 140 or higher. Or that's for systolic. For diastolic, it is 90 or higher. For hypertensive crisis, which is to consult your doctor immediately, it is higher than 180 for systolic, and for diastolic is higher than 120.
Detailed description of sphygmomanometer, an instrument for measuring blood pressure, particularly in arteries. The sphygmomanometer in most frequent use today consists of a gauge attached to a rubber cuff, which is wrapped around the upper arm and is inflated to constrict the arteries. A blood pressure reading consists of two numbers, systolic and diastolic. Systolic refers to systole, the phase when the heart pumps blood out into the aorta. Diastolic refers to diastole, the resting period when the heart refills with blood. At each heartbeat, blood pressure is raised to the systolic level, and between beats, it drops to the diastolic level.